Recently, a dear friend wrote to me about something that had deeply upset her. She owns a beautiful 12-string guitar that has been with her for nearly 60 years. And it's more than an instrument, it's part of her life's story. So last year, she told me she took it to a local music store with a simple request. She asked that 6 strings be installed instead of 12, something she had done several times over the years. Now, months later, she decided to restring the guitar herself, but as she looked closely at the bridge of the guitar, she became convinced that it had been replaced with a 6-string bridge. She was shocked. Then she became angry. No one had asked her permission. No one had explained why such a significant change would be made to an instrument she had treasured for most of her life. It was at that point my friend wrote me asking what she should do. She was angry, she was hurt, she was frustrated. And as I read her message, I understood that level of frustration. And I realized if what she believed was true, she indeed had every reason to ask questions. But I also sensed something else underneath her words. She wasn't merely looking for advice about a guitar. She was trying to decide what kind of person she wanted to be in that moment. So I encouraged her not to confront the repairman while she was emotionally activated. So instead, I suggested something very simple: to approach him with curiosity rather than confrontation, not because her feelings didn't matter, but because truth deserves a calm mind. She later told me that evening, she sat down and watched one of the lessons from the Relational Non-Reactive Intelligence course entitled Lesson 6, Letting Go is Strength, Not Surrender. In fact, she watched it twice. Not to convince herself she was wrong, not to suppress her feelings, but simply to allow her nervous system to settle. The next morning, my friend walked into the music store, and instead of saying, "Why did you ruin my guitar?" she simply asked, "Could you help me understand what happened?" Within a few moments, the entire story changed. In fact, the bridge had never been replaced. The repairman had simply plugged 6 of the string holes to accommodate the 6-string setup. And while she still questioned whether that had been necessary, a realization of something much more important came to mind. The reality was completely different from the story her mind had constructed. Later that day, she sent me another message, and this one deeply moved me. She wrote, "I chose my peace over an argument." Now, when I read those words, I realized there was an even deeper lesson hiding beneath them. And I don't think she chose peace instead of truth. I think she chose peace as the way to discover the truth. There is an enormous difference between those two approaches. Because many people believe that being peaceful means avoiding difficult conversations, and it doesn't. Presence never asks us to ignore reality. Presence prepares us to meet reality without the distortion of emotional reactivity. Reaction has an interesting quality. It convinces us that we already know what happened. And once we believe we know the whole story, our curiosity disappears. When curiosity disappears, learning stops. But presence creates space. And in that space, something beautiful becomes possible. Instead of saying, I know what you did, we begin asking, help me understand. That single shift changes everything. And curiosity is not weakness. Curiosity is one of the highest expressions of strength. Curiosity keeps us available to reality instead of imprisoning ourselves inside our assumptions. Just think about it. How many friendships have been damaged because someone reacted before asking a single question? And how many marriages have suffered because two people defended stories that were never actually true? And how many families carry wounds that began with misunderstanding rather than malice? Most conflict is not born from reality. It is born from interpretation. The mind fills in missing pieces with remarkable confidence. The heart, when it is quiet, always leaves room for discovery. And I think this is why non-reactive intelligence is not about suppressing our emotions, but instead it is about creating enough inner space that reality has an opportunity to reveal itself before our conclusions harden into certainty. Later, my friend thanked me for encouraging her to pause. But in truth, she was the one who demonstrated the lesson. She had the courage to let go of certainty long enough to ask a sincere question. And that courage protected not only her own peace of mind, but also the relationship she had with the repairman. I spent most of the day reflecting on the experience she shared with me, and one simple principle became unmistakably clear in my own mind. Reaction obscures reality. Presence reveals it. So, the next time life presents you with a painful misunderstanding, before you defend your story, before you send the text, before you make the phone call, before you speak to your beloved, before you speak, remember to pause and to breathe and ask yourself one gentle question. What if I don't yet know the whole story? That single question creates space, and space gives birth to presence. Presence awakens curiosity, and curiosity allows reality to speak. And when reality is finally allowed to speak, we often discover that what appeared to be a conflict was actually an invitation. It was an invitation to see more clearly and to love more dearly and to love more deeply and to live with greater freedom. The unfettered life is not a life without challenges. It is a life no longer bound by unconscious reaction. Every circumstance becomes an invitation to awaken, to discern more clearly, and to choose peace over assumption. Until next time, may your life become a little more unfettered. Peace be with you.